Hi, welcome to a new video dedicated to the new revision of the Beecore brushed flight controller. This is a version 2.0 and this one introduced a built-in OSD. You still find the F3 ARM cores, but now you have a max video chip to enjoy the OSD feedback on your current FPV screen. That's great. Three different types of built-in receiver is offered. One is the FSky in D8 mode, where we will see if RSSI is also sent by telemetry, and if a 9th channel also send the RSSI for your OSD. A FlySky version with the second protocol, so in RFHDS2A, and finally Spectrum DSM2. Okay, so what we can find in this super compact box, so already pre-opened some elements. We can find a bag with all the dampening balls to install on your current frame. Okay, so mainly targeting some tiny whoop clone or Eachine 010 and so on, and you can find the screws associated with. So already pre-open the other bag where you can find the flight controller. I will show and highlight all details in fraction of a second, but also three types of lead connector. You can find the micro LOSI, okay, connector type, or very compact micro GST, a pH into 0.1 millimeters of pitch section, and the other one more larger, okay, more associated with E010 quadcopter. So typically this type of flight controller can be installed. Such kind of machine here is the Eachine E011. This one is slightly more larger than the classic tiny whoop clone. This one got some 7mm motor, so more powerful, and I think it's the best trade-off in terms of broad motor versus power versus extra weight. So to combine with such kind of flight controller, where everything comes with a Betaflight 3.20 pre-flash, so it means that you will be able to enjoy acrofly if you want, and the perfect companion of such kind of flight controller is this kind of super light I/O camera. This is a Turbo Wing Cyclops model, and this one is a 2-in-1 I/O camera, 48 channels, 700 TVL, weighs only 3.3 grams, and as you can see, you can have 4 wires directly to be soldered for the OSD applications. That's great. And look, that the weight of such kind of tiny camera is super light, so without the lens cap, only 3.3 grams. That's great. So let's now have a focus on the flight controller. First, good news. Okay, we have some motors connector here. Okay, so you can directly, for example, use your E010, E011 or tiny whoop and directly connect your 6mm or 7mm brushed motor on it. Be aware, okay, the layout of the board is in diagonal like this. You have a front arrow indicating, so you need to have the 2.4 GHz on front, okay, and if you reverse the board, it means that you have the M4, M1, M2, and M3 motors. Okay, so this is a typical Betaflight layout. Be aware of that. On top, okay, we can find a bind button, and very clear to the chip, we have some buzzer pads, 2 small buzzer pads if you need to add an extra buzzer. Here you can find the max video for OSD information. Here we have the 6-axis stabilization chip as well on the main core. Okay, it's very classic. Laterally here, okay, but it's reverse. We can find the power to pads to give the current to your I/O camera, as well as the V-in V-out pads to connect fully your OSD. So on the reverse side, we can find a micro USB port. Okay, and here this is the main ARM core. Okay, and the 4 motor connector. So we can find here more clearly the information. So I will try to make a close up. Okay, we can find whatever the plus 5 volts, so you can power a camera up to plus 5 volts. You have a built-in linear V-reg outputting 0.5 ampere maximum. So we have the ground, and here this is the way out. So you will connect the vein from the camera. Okay, so the signal after the overlaying OSD information will be sent to the VIN, which represents the input of the built-in video transmitter of your I/O module. And the last bottom one is this is the VIN. Will receive the V out signal of the camera part of the I/O module. Okay, so that's all. So it's super easy to install, and the rest of the video we will see how to install, upgrade, for example, this Eachine E011 with such kind of flight controller board. So in terms of weight, it's super light. To power first will be more easy. And in terms of weight, we have something about 3.1 gram, and if you have the main lead connector, we reach something about 3.5 gram. Okay, if you want 3.6, maybe you can reduce a little bit the main lead connector if you need. Okay, so let's now do the assembling procedure and how to make the I/O module OSD connection. Beware with your frame. Okay, so typically you have to be sure that the clockwise motors are in general with red and blue wires, okay, and the counterclockwise with black and white. So the first things to do with such kind of board is to first solder your main lead connector. So if you look to the top position, okay, you can see that yes, so this is the top position. You can see that the ground is this square pad on the left, and the plus VBAT is on the right. So it means if I reverse, it means that I've got the ground on the right and the plus 5 volt on the left. So I will pre-add some solder, okay, on this pad in order to make the connection more easy. So I hope my iron is enough hot. Okay, and I will add this soldering. So okay. Okay, so now I will be able to solder the right connector. So we say that the plus 5 volt or 1S volt is on the left, so the red on the left. Good news, this flight controller board can accept also not only some LiPo battery style, but also some LEHV. Okay, so that's great. And I will also add some solder here. Okay, so okay. Okay, should be down. So now we will do the same with all the OSD information. So from the right to the from the top to bottom, we have the plus 5 volts. So okay. Okay. So now it's time to solder all the camera element. We clean the tip, and I will also add some flux on the extremity of the camera. Okay. 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 We have the vein. So the vein, which is the output of the OSD of the flight control board, is the yellow. Okay, so you will need to connect the yellow wires to the way out of this flight control board. So it's time to solder everything. and the other classic ground plus 5 volts. So we can start, for example, from left to right, is more or less the same. Yeah, it should be better to attach them with a third hand, but I'm afraid to damage a little bit the situation. So let's start with the plus 5 volt. Okay. Okay, so just swap the yellow with the white, and it was the trick. So sometimes the nomenclature is not super clear. Okay, it's not like serial. I will turn on this FPV monitor, okay, and turn on the system, okay, and you will see in a couple of seconds that all Betaflight information are displayed. So by default, all settings are turned on, and of course, we will have to configure everything into Betaflight. Okay, so now it's time to reassemble everything and check also the if the model layout is already following the Betaflight settings. So M4, M1, M4, M2, M1, M3. Okay, let's assemble on the quadcopter right now. Okay, here is the final result. So as you can see, I had to use a small double-side tape to install the I/O camera. And first remark, I regret, for example, that the you cannot really install this I/O camera on the at least with all this type of I/O 3D printed FPV mount. Okay. Because mainly the bind button is badly located. Okay, it's blocking, so you cannot really access to it. Another point, be sure to not short, okay, because on this type of frame you need to bend very closely the frame in order to install correctly the main link connector. Except that, okay, be sure to follow the exact model layout. So remind, we have M4, okay, M4 is here. So here we have then M2, M1, and M3. One other remark. So I bound the built-in FSK receiver with the jumper radio, and good news, telemetry is here. Okay, so to bind is pretty easy. While pouring the main link cable, keep and press the bind button, okay, and do the binding procedure, run the binding procedure. But I will show that, okay, it's bound, and we have in the transmitter menu in telemetry monitor, we have some information. Okay, this value is not completely right. You need to play with the 822 gain to have the exact value, but the more important is this one, and I will say these two one representing more or less the RSSI. Other good news, the RSSI is also sent on the 9th channel for the OSD, so you can also add this RSSI information on USD information. That's great. So now it's time to have a make tour on the Betaflight to configure some stuff, mainly the OSD information, because by default everything displayed, so we have to remove a lot of elements displayed. But by default, a lot of things are already pre-configured. For example, the UART3 is turned on, okay, and brushed motors are pre-selected, and so on. So just a fine-tuning of basically some OSD information and your flight mode. Okay, first remark, it's also hard to enter the micro USB. Depend on what type of frame you're installing this Beecore. So for example, on the Eachine E11, you will see that most part of the micro USB will be blocked by the part of the lower structure. So anyway, you will need to push a bit this frame structure in order to connect the micro. So let's connect everything. And immediately I strongly advise to dump any settings, but let's check the current version install, and should be the version 3.2.1 for Omnibus. Okay, and also be sure to dump your default settings, okay, into a text file, to be sure to save and to restore if you make some mistake somewhere. Okay, so you can, for example, save, everything into a dump text file. So I will use this folder and dump everything, okay, into a text file. Okay, and save everything. So when it's done, you can close, and now it's time to go to the setup. Okay, reconnect. Connecting. So sometime, okay, it's connected. Sometimes can be slow. So you will need to okay, now it's done. So we have the connection, and let's check immediately the port. So as you can see, for the FieldSky D8 receiver, we have UART3 turned on. It will be probably the same for the two other choice of receiver for Spectrum and FlySky. FlySky is using IBUS, so serial ports also. In terms of configuration, what we have, a quad X is brushed, be sure. Okay, and if you want to disarm or not, you can maybe decrease this value. In terms of bond alignment, nothing is rotated, and we can push probably a little bit further all the settings. Okay, so we have an MPU 6800, so it should support 4 kilos. Okay, so let's now go down. If you need to give a craft name in your OSD information, it will be in this field. So we have only OSD information, okay, and nothing else need to be turned on, because we have a basic TinyWhoop clone. So I will save and reboot. Reconnect, and I will now turn to the PIDs, and I will leave the default settings. So maybe you can probably increase for your favorite settings. So me, I prefer a more linear ear answer, so I would decrease to something about 600 degrees, but more with a linear answer, and here more something faster. Okay, especially if you want to fly acro. So you know that TinyWhoop's machine got some little difficulties to turn, to flip, so maybe you will need to increase a little bit more than 800 degrees. I like it. I will leave the level strength and so on, and the default settings. So I will now save. Okay, I think it's saved. And now I will go to the receiver section, and I will turn on my radio. Okay, so after a couple of seconds, so I already turned the correct channel mapping. So for my jumper is aileron, elevator, throttle, roller, but if you have more Taranis, it would be more the spectrum. So starting with the throttle. So, and you have to check that the aux5 here, the 9th channel, is should move around the RSSI value, so according to the distance of your radio transmitter. So be sure also to center everything on the 5500. So you have to go on the mixer, for example, and check that everything is well centered. Okay, so play with the sub trim in order to center, and be sure that everything is go correctly to between 1000 to 2000. So I've got a roll, okay, more or less good, and let's check now the pitch. Okay, so I will leave the dynamic like this, and I will set now the center everything. So I will use with the sub trim. Okay, little bit some updatation, so it sounds good. Okay, and I've got pitch sounds pretty good. And I will do the same with the Rattler. So the fourth channel need some little subtrim. Okay, sounds not so bad. And okay, and now I will check the throttle. So everything is correct, and I should have some channel mapping somewhere. So I will play with the with one. And in terms of flight mode, I will add on the aux1. Okay, the default angle values, then horizon on the middle, and then I will play more with the anti-gravity for acro. Okay, so I will reselect the aux1 here and aux1 here. Okay, and if you have a bother, you can assign another auxiliary channel, and I will also add air mode on aux1 like this on the last settings. Okay, so that's great. I will save that. And if you need aux2 for arming, it's up to you. Okay, it's good when you want. So the more important will be the OSD information. So I will switch off all of them. Okay, and then turn on individually. So I will display the RSSI. I will more install on the top right. I know that it's an NTSC camera, and I will use metric. Okay, so RSSI, main battery voltage, also I will display. So I will more apply in a lower left position. Okay, like this. I will apply crosshair because it's very important. I will apply flight mode as well. So in the middle, bottom middle. And I will also apply the throttle position because I like to know. Okay. And what I will also apply blah blah blah, add some timer. So by default you have the timer 1, which is the flat time. So I will apply something on the top left. Okay, we'll indicate more with the current battery installed, something about 250, and the and voila, so it's done, and we can output some statistic. I will leave the default one, so I will save. Okay, and now it's done, and we are, I think maybe I can optimize a bit this position here. Okay, save that, and let's see how it works in practice. Okay, so let's conclude about this Beecore V2 F3 board. So there are some big positive points. First of all, it's fully integrated. Okay, it's pretty light, and at least for the FieldSky version, you have the RSSI feedback for both your telemetry on your radio and as well the RSSI display. Thanks to the 9th channel on your OSD, that's great. So it's fully integrated to any tiny whoop brushed frame, so that's great. But there are some major points and some problems. First, I will start with minor details. Look at that on the how to install it. You will need 2 lateral screws, okay? And for some camera support, the bind button here is super badly located because of the camera 3D printed or plastic. Will be in contact with the bind button and is hard to use one. So here I use a simple double side tape, okay? So, but if you plan to use a more solid support, camera support, you can have some problems. Second point, look at for some frame, the USB, it's partially blocked hidden by the battery tray, so you will need to cut a part of it if you want to insert very easily your USB plug. And the main problem, I will say, is the strange behavior at the takeoff. For example, I will show you, because as you already see in the FPV flight, there is a strange behavior. I will turn on the quadcopter, and when I will okay, turn on, I will okay, automatically binding, and when I will try, motor stopped immediately, okay, and it's super sensitive for the quality of the LiPo. So you need definitively a super great LiPo with high discharge rate, because if not, you won't be able to take off. As soon as you will push the throttle, there is a kind of brownout, and it's strange because it's only appearing on the takeoff. When you're in the air, you can push the throttle maximum, decrease, absolutely no receiver brownout and some stuff like this. Is really strange, and I tried with the last Betaflight, nothing changed. So be sure to use a super strong battery. 30C is a strict minimum, is a 35C and can handle up to 4 minutes, even more, of flight time. That's great. So be sure to have 35, even 40C discharge rate if you plan to use such kind of flight controller. Okay, I hope you enjoy this new video. If you like it, please submit, and see you next time. Bye bye.